Hey everybody, welcome back to JRL Golf Academy. In this episode, I had none other than David Orr putting, to me, one of the putting master coaches in the game of golf today. We went over setup procedures, what are true fundamentals, and he even gave my son a putting lesson, which was not scripted at all, but to see his mastery of being able to change somebody's putting stroke just through a couple of setup tweaks is something that I'll never forget. So, with no further ado, I hope you enjoy this episode of JRL Golf Academy.
You got a
So
system
I
for it
think,
all.
well, I don't have a system as far as how I teach. I have a framework. I guess that's
Yeah.
a system. I don't know. I mean, I have a framework that there's a lot of latitude. I can teach somebody left hand low. I can teach somebody claw. I can teach somebody to swing a little in to out or cut across it and under twist it. I can teach them to do it with their shoulders. I can teach them to do it with their arms. I know when to teach somebody with their wrists. There's some.
Oh,
There's a
really?
lot of. There's a lot of older players out there. A lot of amateur golfers should not be trying to putt with their shoulders. They don't know
Really?
how to separate the movement between. They don't know how. A lot of amateur golfers don't know how to separate the movement between the upper body and the lower body. They move the whole body, and they don't know how to separate the movement of their upper body and their head because their eyes are watching the ball.
So
Their
they
eyes are
look.
watching.
That's this person, right? Where they're putting and they're like, it
Yes,
was that person
exactly.
that doesn't know how to separate it.
Yeah, they don't know how to keep the motion of their upper body, shoulders, shoulder girdle moving without looking. You know what I mean?
David, I
They
never even thought about that, and that makes complete sense to me now. Like that just blew my mind. I was like, yeah, that's why they do that, huh?
Well, here, I'll give you a whole laundry list of why they do what they do.
Okay.
What's interesting is that, the amateur golfer doesn't know how to move both arms in sync with the shoulders and maybe having a preference over a trail hand or a lead hand, but they don't know how to move them without moving the wrists because they're trying to guide the club head.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of this is conceptual, but it's also coordination. So I just did a video because I was in skiing. There's a thing called three-way separation. You need to
Okay.
rotate your legs one way, counter and angulate, and you incline, so to speak. You got to be able to move your body in two different directions, kind of like good players in transition.
Yeah.
They've got their legs and hips moving one way, or so maybe increasing a little bit of the X factor by 5 to 10 degrees or whatever, and then their
Yeah.
arms are rotating to shallow the club, right? So
Right.
you're moving in three different ways, three
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
directions.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So with
Yes.
you know with putting, I mean, there is minimal movement of the legs and the hips as the stroke gets longer.
Yeah.
Starts off with minimal to no movement to a little bit of movement because
Okay.
you can't be there at 100 feet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the head, what's interesting is I know Joan Vickers wrote a book on the quiet eye and said that great players don't move their eyes, but yet what's funny is we got a sensor on the head and we've calibrated the head, okay? And everybody's head moves on GBD. I've had one player keep it almost perfectly still, almost. So how can the head be moving but the eyes being quiet?
Think about that for a second. Yeah.
I know why, because this is what the eyes are doing.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
My head's
Is it
moving.
always? Is it
What's
always
that?
trying to, like, the eyes are always trying to stay in the center of the socket? Does it have to do with that?
I don't know. Haven't done that one yet.
Oh, all right.
But what's interesting is the head tends to move back, tilt away as the tilt kicks in through impact. So the head moving away a little bit is pretty normal. I mean, Fax asked me that just recently. He's like, my head moves back. Is that okay? I said, dude, it's normal. He goes, really? Because everybody tells me I got to keep my head still. I was like, dude, you're one of the best ever. We can learn a lot from you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't think the head stays perfectly still, but I do like to say minimal.
Yeah.
It makes minimal movement.
Yeah.
And I think Mac was right back in 2000 when he said the golf swing begins and ends with the eyes and the hands. And I think what happens is we do get, on those little short putts, what's in our peripheral vision? The cup. What do we see on the ground? The curved line. It's on the ground. And then I call it the anticipated line, because people are anticipating trying to guide the ball out there, and they yank the living daylights out of it. So they miss their first short left, and then they steer and miss the next one right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's what I see a lot of. Do you know what I'm
I
saying?
do a lot of that.
I call it driving in Paris traffic. You hit the car on the left, so you overcorrect and you hit the car on the right. You don't learn to stay in your lane, bro. You got to learn to stay in your lane.
You know? Stay in your lane, man.
Stay in your lane. Bro. You know?
It's that easy.
Yeah, hard. That's the key thing. That's why I think putting through ball gates teaches you to stay in your lane.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Just as a little standard drill.
Well, I think it's feedback, number one. Number two, I think our subconscious learns to square the face up when you do that a lot. I had this young kid that had never taken lessons before. He comes to take a lesson. I watch him putt outside. He's pretty good. Need to work on green reading, obviously, is a skill. So I had him learn aim point. But this kid, I put him on the stand putt lesson, and he's just pumping out 0.1s and 0.2s and negative 0.1s with the face.
Whoa.
And I'm sitting there going, how does this kid with no instruction get those numbers, right?
Yeah.
I said, what do you practice? He goes, well, I only know one drill. That's to putt through tee gates. And
really?
I said, oh my God, here's this kid with little to no instruction, and the only drill he does is that. And so I watched Phil Kenyon teach out on tour. I've seen a lot of John Graham and Jeff Pierce and Mike Shannon and, all the great coaches out there on tour. And, I see a lot of guys practicing through ball gates. Now, I hate them personally. I mean, it feels like to me that I'm going to crash the car.
Yeah.
How am I going to squeeze this thing through there, right? That's my bet. But I personally I don't like any training aids for myself. But I like them as teaching aids. I'll use the training aid not for training, but for teaching and educating.
Okay.
Two of my favorites, obviously, would be the Vizio My Putting templates. They're a great blackboard.
Okay. Where do we get those?
VizioPutting.com. That's Phil Kenyon's company. Lee Sullivan and Mike Kansky, the boys over there in England. I like those. I also like the Well Putt, Well Stroke. Boris Panzart makes a nice putting template as well. The graphics are a little different. The material's a little different, but those would be my two favorites. But like I said, I don't use them as a training aid. It's not like I'm going to go train.
Right. I'm going to do this for 2 hours.
Yeah, which is not the way to use them anyway. I'll tell you how I use them. As I might putt on them, look at them for like a couple minutes, get a feel for it, and then get away from it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And when I'm working with somebody, work on it just for a few minutes and get away from it and then come back. Then get away from it and come back. Because I don't want them trying to guide the putter, because then their eyes start wandering again. You know what I mean? So like I said, I use those type of things as a blackboard or a chalkboard. That this is how we learn, right? And then other training aids, I mean, there's some cool things out. There's plenty of training aids out there that actually don't do what they say they supposed to do, but the idea is so good that I modify it a little bit and turn it into something functional.
I think we all do that as teachers.
I'll tell you, give everybody one right now. I'm gonna give everybody one.
Oh, let's go.
All right, so the worst drill, if you want to ruin somebody's putting stroke quickly, is the two.
Take a lesson from me.
The two alignment sticks in a track.
Okay.
How many times have we all done that one, including yours truly?
Yeah.
Yes. So hang on, I gotta get this on the ground.
Okay.
Can you guys see the ground?
Yeah.
So how many times have we taken alignment sticks and made a track for our junior golfers, right?
Yep.
Okay, you want to know what they assume the putter's going to do?
Try to go between it.
Just ask them for what it's for. So I'll ask a junior golfer, I'll say, what's this track for? They go, for the club head to go straight.
Uh-huh.
Face to stay straight. Okay?
Yeah.
I take the inside, I take a T 2 inches on the top side, 2 inches on the top side right here, right?
Yeah.
And then I take a tee in the middle and I bend it a half an inch.
Ah.
So what do I've got my own arc. Can everybody
You
see
got
that?
your own arc.
Yeah. Now, if you do it more than a half an inch, you start getting into too strong of an arc.
Yeah.
Now, this arc is actually, sometimes I'll take a tee and I'll curve it upward as well. I'll curve it upward so that I'm getting a three-dimensional. So I'm just waiting for my friends to come up with a 3D print of a putting arc.
That's awesome.
That makes sense? And then I'll take this one. I'll either leave it there or I'll put this one at right angles to the arc. So that's my stroke station right there.
How good is that?
Yeah, so I teach players to set perpendicular to the arc.
Yeah,
Oh,
I see it. I see it.
Training aid is a curved stick with a radius of about, I don't know, I think the average radius length is about 4 feet, maybe a little over. And then the plane is always moving. I mean, gosh, that's what I was just looking at right now, is just how much the plane shifts from player to player and sometimes stroke to stroke. So
how much do you feel setup plays into good putting?
Well, I think the setup has an influence on how you can move, right?
Yeah.
How you see.
Yeah.
I mean, it all has an influence, but you can't sit there and look at a setup and say mechanically it's going to do this, because the player might move it out of plane. They might twist it. They might.
I gotcha.
Because their concept is different. That makes sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
You do all the engineering in the world, and you say, okay, it should move like this, and it didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes total sense there. So, I mean, you can't just tell by the setup, like, oh, this guy's going to be a great putter, or this girl's going to be a great putter. You just can't.
I'll tell you one thing I do look at.
Yeah.
I watch their eyes. I watch where their attention is directed. I watch how focused and how big their eyes get, how relaxed their face is, and I look at their fingers and how they hold the club. So it gets back to what Mac, talked about, the eyes and the hands. I mean, you look at Faxon's eyes when he's putting. Yeah, it's the coolest thing ever. I mean, he'll drop 3 balls down. He came to Pine Needles, dropped 3 balls down, hit downhill putts from about 40 feet, watched every ball roll out like he was studying the roll.
Really?
And then he went down, hit like 30, 40 footers up the slope, watching every ball until it stopped. And it's almost like every ball he studied gave him feedback, and he'd make these little adjustments, and then he adapted so quickly to the speed of the green. And then he came in and did some short ones, and he's like, oh, I'm going to hit this one off the toe, I'm going to hit this one off the heel, I'm going to hit this one off the center, I'm going to hit this one hard, hit this soft. It's like all this variable learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Make the putt from a bunch of different ways.
Yeah. So, because it's funny because, I've measured him and stuff with Sam Putt Lab on straight putts, right to left, left to right. He goes, well, what stroke do you want me to use?
What?
Here we got so many people trying to master the perfect putting stroke. You've got one of the greatest putters of all time saying, which one do you want me to use? You want me to set up like this?
Such a tease.
Well, but no, I think what flying the F-16 is all about. You learn the mechanics and you learn how to fly, but then you use the principles and the fundamentals to create, keyword create, the motion. I mean, that's kind of what I see with him is not an analytical thinker, but a creative thinker and a creative mind. Always ask great questions. I'll get a text, hey, you busy? And I call him and he'll say, hey, you know what? I set up the other day. My hands felt perfect. The stroke felt perfect. The strike was perfect. And I lipped it out. And he goes, I love that. He goes, am I crazy because I love that I missed? I said, no, dude, you just so deeply entrenched in the process and executing a putt that the execution is more important than the result to him.
Yeah.
And just because it was something that was out of his control. It just didn't go in. But I mean, that's what's so cool about working with guys like that. And, you know, and I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of good players. You know, I worked, like I said, with Justin for 5 years, and I worked with Suzanne Pedersen for 2.5 years. Matter of fact, I didn't know that she was going to make the putt and retire on us.
Oh, yeah.
I was actually over there Monday through Friday. And what's interesting is the narrative that was going through her mind is, you know, it's almost like the U.S. team was there, the European team was there, and then Suzanne. Because the press was like, she should be there. She hasn't played in 2 years. She's tried to play in 4 tournaments, missed 3 cuts. She shouldn't be here. It should be on somebody else's pick.
Yeah.
So I'll share this quick story. She wouldn't mind me sharing it. But Wednesday, we're at the hotel in Glen Eagles up there with her husband, Christian, and her son, Herman. And she goes, you know what, Dior? She goes, I hope it comes down to the last green, the last shot. I want it to be a putt, and I want it to be mine. This is on Wednesday before Sunday that happened.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like she had this, like, narrative going in her mind that she wanted it, that she wanted to be in that moment. What's funny, the theme on the banners says it all leads to this moment. And it all led to that moment.
It
She
did.
makes it. She makes the putt. She drops the putter before the ball goes in. Rewind the tape. She's let go of the putter. The ball is a foot short. And she
knows.
Go, and she knows it's in. Fist pumps. And then all of a sudden, after everybody storms the green, she sees her husband and her little boy walk on the green. She goes, that's it. It will never top this. I'm done.
Makes sense.
I'm done.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and what's interesting is her husband, I talked to him like 20 minutes after the putt went in, and he's crying, you know, and I start crying because he's crying. And,
right.
And I said, I want to talk to Suze. And he goes, she don't want to talk to you right now. I said, why? Because she'll start crying. So she actually avoided me for a couple days. And then we did a WhatsApp, you know, and and she goes, I don't want to talk long. Thanks for everything. You know, it was great, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to talk long. And then, you know, it was funny because she's tough. She's tough, but she's sweet. She's tough outside, and she's one of the most thoughtful people I've ever met on the inside. What you saw inside the ropes was not, that was the competitive Suzanne.
Yeah.
She was always thoughtful. Matter of fact, I mean, she moved back to Norway. She, you know, had to sell her cars and her house, and in the process of doing that, and, you know, she sold me one of her cars at coach price. And I mean, she didn't have to do that. I mean,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, she's just, you know, she'll send me a message, how the girl's doing, or how's your wife, you know, how's things going. So she's one of the most thoughtful individuals I've ever met in my life. And you would never expect that. You would never expect that. Cause I'll tell you a cool story. So I fly down to Bay Hill, or to Orlando, and I'm staying with Suzanne, and then we go over to Orange Tree. And she's joking along as we're riding along, right? Then she gets out of the car, and as soon as her foot puts her foot in green grass, her whole demeanor changed.
Really? Yeah. Like you just see it like a light switch?
Oh, no. It was like literally like this mask came down, like, you know, I used to call it bitch face.
Yeah.
You know, I said, what's up with you? She goes, nothing. Let's go to work. And like started getting like real nasty. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like 30 seconds ago when you're on asphalt, you were joking around. As soon as your foot hits green grass, your whole personality changes. But no, she's a great woman, great husband, great family, her parents, her brother. Yeah. So I wish her the best of luck. It's funny because I see her working out all the time.
Yeah.
And she makes all these social media, and I'm like, don't you do it. Think about it. Think about coming back. It'll never get as good as that.
Yeah, that putt was it. It doesn't get any better than that. Just leave it.
No, you made the putt for your continent. I mean, you made it women's golf. Probably one of the largest putts to be made in the history
of golf,
of women's golf and golf, right?
Yeah.
So, and but like I said, it goes back to that narrative of wanting that moment, you know, feeling like there was a chip on her shoulder, and that was her way of getting, you know, visualizing, you know. And
That's amazing to hear that from that perspective, David. That is amazing to hear that.
yeah, so, and you know, I've worked with a lot of players. I mean, gosh, but like I said, in the putting business, you know, I'm like a barber. Phil Kenyon's like a hairdresser. He's got loyalty. Like, you know, people go back to the hairdresser every time, right? But there's some of us when we need a cut, especially when we get out of this quarantine that we're in, that we'll get a cut from anybody, right? My razor misses me.
Oh, that is so awesome there. That is so awesome, David. Hey, David, can we take some questions here that came in?
I don't know if I got the answers, but I'll take them.
All right, here we go. Let's see here. Lee Sullivan putting. Dave, what are your early thoughts about the new Sam?
Yeah, so I'm learning it. I love the Sam Putt Lab 3D because the graphics are amazing.
Uh-huh.
And for Lee and Phil, you'll get my data that I've been running through to figure out what some of these new parameters are and what the numbers at least should like look like. So I like it. I think it's worth it. Sam doesn't pay me anything to
promote it or anything, yeah.
But I always upgrade every time they come out because sometimes you miss out on certain things if you don't upgrade.
That's good to know there.
Yeah. So hi Lee. Hope you guys are safe in the UK.
Let's see here. Mike Vick. Dave, thanks so much for the lesson last week. Yeah, thanks so much for the lesson last week. I had a follow-up with an Adele flow neck. Do the trick. Anything flow neck? What's the deal?
Yeah, I like it.
He likes it.
Absolutely, yeah. So, hi, Michael. Hope you're doing well. Michael's one of my COVID-19 lessons that we maintained our social distancing the best you can as a putting coach.
Yeah.
But no, it was great to have them. And, you know, I've been lucky. I am doing online lessons. I've done 3 of them this week, and I had about 4 or 5 in-person lessons. It's been tough on all of us. I think everybody out there, you know, stay the course, maintain a positive attitude through this whole thing, or at least a neutral attitude.
Amen to that.
You know, I mean, gosh, yeah, our lesson books are, I mean, gosh, some of us are out of jobs and some of us don't have lessons. And so just praying for you, thinking about you, and just stay the course, you know, because they'll come back. Just remember that, everybody. They're going to come back. And what's going to be important, not just as a golf coach, is you're going to be a sounding board for these people. You know, that's one of the things about being a coach or being an instructor. I used to have Dr. Broadhurst to come see me at 11 o'clock on every Thursday for a golf lesson with his full swing. And I asked him one day, I said, why do you come every Thursday at 11 o'clock? He goes, therapy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're going to be, you know, we need, people are going to need us and we're going to need them.
Yeah, for sure. To that point, me being a coach, you know, it's our responsibility to just hear people and be, like you said it so well, being a sounding board, because teaching is more than just always just information. Like you said, some people just want to come and hear and just be known that they can be heard as well. So, you know, we're there to help people. Let's not forget that. All right.
Yeah. One of the things, as a young teacher, I wasn't a very good listener.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't become a better listener until later on. If I could say, if there's one skill for the young coaches out there, it's don't just listen to what's coming out of a person's mouth. Learn to study people's nonverbals and how they're communicating with you that way, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean? So a lot of people are like, how do you know what I'm thinking? I'm like, it's written all over your body. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
By the way you're walking. And like, I had a kid today, first lesson, he's never taken a lesson. His dad brought him down. And, you know, I'm giving this kid I feel like a great lesson, right? And the kid doesn't care. Kid doesn't care. Right. I turned to the father. I said, is he always this blasé? He goes, yeah. So I had to like make a quick U-turn and capture his attention and that's what I had to do, is I had to capture the kid's attention, because he has this blasé attitude. Like, I think it's like he came because his dad brought him, because his dad wanted
Right.
him to have a lesson from David Orr. Ooh,
Right.
ooh, boy. You know what I mean? And then I had to capture the kid's attention. And finally, it was an hour lesson, and probably in the last 30, 40 minutes, I got his attention.
Yeah.
And then we started learning.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And studying how he learns, and starting to communicate, connect. And by the end of the lesson, we connected. So sometimes you don't connect them at first 5, 10, 15 minutes, but you can sure blow it in that first 5, 10, 15 minutes.
I tried that. You're absolutely right about that, David. I try to make it all, or I do make sure the first thing I do in a lesson is I say, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
And you can get that answer from them, and where they're at, what you're talking about mentally, because the timing, as much information as you have, and I know you've got a lot of information, and teaching wisdom behind it, if you don't deliver that at the correct time when somebody's willing to take information, it's pointless almost, isn't it?
Yeah. And one of the things that I practice saying is, what can I do for you today? You're in a position of service.
Yeah.
What can I do
Yes.
today? Oh,
Yeah.
well, you know what? My distance control is not very good. Okay, so my head goes immediately to swing length, timing, acceleration, force, launch conditions.
Yeah.
As soon as they
Yeah.
say that, that's what I'm going, okay, this is what I'm going to look for, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
My speed's not very good. But when they go to me, they go, I want to be a more consistent putter. I look at them like,
Yeah.
really?
What do you want me to do? Yeah.
I can't walk on water, but I know the guy that can, but I can't. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean,
just,
yeah, consistency is just not a. Ryan Daly made a nice post the other day on Facebook about consistency, and it's not really about being consistent. It's about, making your better rounds lower and your not so bad rounds not as high.
That's right. That's right.
Moving in a direction. You're either moving in a better direction, or you're stagnant, or you're moving in the wrong direction. So it's almost like stagnant's as bad as being in the wrong direction, but that's kind of where the learning takes place, right?
Yeah. I guess to that point, you could even just say, look, if I told somebody like a 7 handicapper or a 15 handicapper, I said, hey, every day of your life, you're going to shoot 75, and that's all you're ever going to shoot. And I can grant you that right now. I don't think that'd be very fun personally. You know what I mean? Like, that's as consistent as it gets. You said you want consistency. I'm giving you 75 every time you play. I don't know.
No, would you take 62 and 80 though every other day? 62 and 80?
Yeah, man. You'd experience the spectrum.
Yeah. That's what it's like being bipolar. So what's funny is I just got on my medication. I got healthy a year ago.
Good for you.
Yeah, and Facton and I were talking about, he goes, how in the hell did you play golf being bipolar unmedicated? I said, I have no idea. Maybe that has something to do with the 68 and then the 83. You know what I mean? Making a 14 on a hole after going birdie, 14 birdie. That did happen, by the way. I went 3, 14, 2, and I did. I went 3, birdied 9 with a 3, birdied 14 on 10, and a deuce on 11. That was at Radisson Greens in Syracuse, Baldwinsville, New York State Michelob Open qualifier. 3-4-2. That's bipolar.
Did your emotion? Did you look fairly cool about it the whole time, or were you?
No, I'm not. I haven't experienced what cool is until I got on the 150 milligrams of Seroquel this year. That's cool. Sometimes I ask my wife, "Am I a zombie?"
Oh, this is such real talk, David. I love it, man. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Here's another question. Paxton Connor, where do you see the future of putting instruction? That's a great question there.
The future of it?
Yeah. What do we start looking at more?
I think, obviously we talk about it at our putting conferences all the time about, the mental state of the player. You know, Phil Kenyon likes to say the ecosystem.
Okay.
The putting skills that everybody can teach without hurting somebody, which is green read, speed, line, and aim. And then I think the stroke fundamentals are going to be changing.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think what a fundamental is, what we see as a fundamental. So eyes over the ball is not a fundamental.
Uh-huh.
Setting up squares, not a fundamental. How
Keep
about those
preaching.
two just to start off with? Because
Keep preaching.
I got 3D data to prove it. How many golfers set up perfectly 0.0 with their torso and their head and their pelvis?
They can't.
Most people set up a little open, a little tilted. Some more
Okay.
open, some a little less tilted. It's when you don't have the right match that shoulders start getting too level and too open or whatever. But yeah, I could go for days about what the fundamentals are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because what's funny is, we were taught in the PGA that fundamentals never going to change.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, but when the science goes deeper than straight back, straight through, or arcing, you're going to find out that the fundamentals are not exactly what you thought they were. How about this fundamental? It's an angular motion. It's more angular motion than linear. How about that
Hello.
one? But yet it's not. But yet it's not a pure pendulum either. How about that one? Yeah. So, like I said, what's the future of putting instruction? There's going to be a huge nuclear bomb that goes off with putting instruction, and the only way about it is changing the teachers.
Yeah.
Giving the teachers the right information and letting the teachers make the change. You can't just go to golf.com or Golf Digest and say, okay, I'm going to put up a Ferris wheel that's tilted, the lunar wheel that's tilted. And people are going to be like, what?
Right.
So we
got to go to people like you.
It's got to be the coach
like
first. I believe that the greatest change is with the coaches, and then the coaches influence the kids. So it's the next generation is how I see it. I mean, I'm just a messenger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. I'm not the guy that's going to change it all, because you can't do it by yourself. You can't be on an island.
Yeah.
Saying, I work together with Phil Kenyon. I work together with Dr. Rob Neal. I work together with Sasha McKenzie. I've learned some cool stuff from other coaches. You know what I mean? So you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah. And but to that point also, like, I like my old man would always say to me, he goes, it takes a spark makes a fire, and you're the spark. That's the way I feel.
Maybe like one stick of dynamite.
Hey man, that's what it takes.
One stick.
That's what it takes. All it takes is one.
I can be a little explosive for those of you that have heard me speak off my medication. I can be very explosive.
It's passion.
Yeah, but very, very quiet and calm on medication. So yeah, it's interesting. I did go almost all last year without a swear word in my presentations. It started in Denmark.
Good for you.
Yeah, in Canada, absolutely. Well, I was sedated, so.
Okay.
That's part of it.
Could have gone the other way. Even being sedated, you could have used a bunch of.
No, it's been good. I mean, I think when I do drop occasional profanity, it is unprofessional, but yet it's just more of a wake up call to get somebody's attention. Yeah. Like I'm gonna make a point here.
Yeah.
Ball's not a blinking fundamental. It's a preference, and how it became a fundamental is based off of logic.
Uh-huh.
Because the vast majority of golfers actually see the line better from inside or even slightly behind. Eyes over the ball is not. That's not fundamental. I mean, if I were to use logic in my vision looking straight down, and then how many people would actually see the line perceived straight from there? Not very many.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a good idea. I mean, idea and the word theory pretty much are synonymous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I feel you.
Measure somebody and see where people see it. And there is a range. I have seen, and there is a range where, the head can be tilted a little this way or a little this way or this way or this way, and it's tilted forward. I mean, that's pretty much normal.
Yeah.
It's when we see Jordan Spieth where they're taking a nap on the right shoulder because their head's tilted far back. But that's where he sees it, right? That's where he putted great from. You know what I mean? Yeah. So to change that or mess around with that can probably create some inconsistency or whatever. So What's interesting about Spieth is how free and how good he is on the medium to long range putts, and then on the short ones at his age, and the little short ones being a little dicey, right?
Right.
At his age, I mean, come on, but he'll figure it out.
Thanks for watching, everybody, the JRL Golf Academy. Please make sure to link and comment down below. Make sure you subscribe and turn on that little bell for notifications. And we look forward to seeing you on the next JRL Golf Academy.